What is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video I want to talk about a topic that's probably aimed mainly at beginner beat makers and those of you that are wanting to progress and those of you that maybe are struggling to progress with your beat making and feel like you're not getting any better even though you're putting the hours in creating beats. So I want to share a few tips with you that hopefully will push you forward in the right direction and get you creating better beats, and I think I've got 3 tips in total which I'll cover now in detail, and then hopefully by the end of this video, if you're watching this and you're a new beat maker, you've picked up some good information that will help you progress, because that's what we're all about here on this channel and in this community. We want people to progress, we want people to get better at making beats. So the first thing that I want to talk about has been really useful for me, and it's difficult to do actually getting into this routine. But once you can get into it and make it a habit, it becomes really useful. And it's important to remember this all through your sort of beat making career. I use that term in inverted commas because I'm not actually saying we're all professional beat makers out here, but I think one of the most important things is to record what you're doing as often as you can. So whether that's into your computer, if you've got an audio interface into your phone, if you've got a handheld recorder, a cassette tape deck, anything that you can get hold of that can record beats, really recommend this. So it's something I have to remind myself of even now, to be honest, is that recording beats is the only way you're going to be able to properly monitor if you're getting better at making beats. So one problem that I get into a lot is that I'm making a beat, I get halfway through and I think this is trash and get rid of it. I don't want to listen to it anymore. I want to make a new one. I want to start again. And I think that's kind of to do with the excitement that you get when you're creating a new beat. When you get a sample that you like, you get that rush of excitement because you really want to make a beat out of it and everything's going well, and then you start making a loop and gradually you start convincing yourself that what you're creating isn't any good anymore. You need to push through that and get to a point where you're finishing beats properly to the best of your ability and recording them so that you've got a record of them. Both of those points are really important. Finishing beats and recording them is definitely going to help with your progress, even if you don't notice it at the time. So one way which this has massively helped me, for example, is if I go back and listen to my first ever beats that I created on SoundCloud, they are way far behind what I'm creating now. But I don't always realise that until I actually go back and listen to them. So the fact that I've got them there as a log, it really does help me to realise that my beat making is progressing. It doesn't matter how quickly or slowly it is going in the right direction, and that's the main thing. So I think that kind of ended up being 2 points really, that first one. It's you've got to finish beats. You can't just stop making a beat halfway through and decide that you don't like it anymore. Push yourself to finish those projects, those mini little projects of each track. Get a finished article, get it recorded, and you never know, you may come back in a week and rediscover that you actually really liked what you created. I've done that so many times when I've made beats which I don't think I like, but I've seen it through, I've stuck it out, I've recorded it, and when I've come back to it in a few days or a few hours even, I've thought, you know what, that actually doesn't sound too bad. So I really recommend those 2 points. My second point, and this is probably one of the hardest things for a creator, is to stop being so hard on yourself. So I think this is a trap that creative people fall into a lot, is that it just seems really easy to hate your own stuff, and that's definitely one of the biggest issues I've ever had with anything I've done creatively. When you're producing something, as in you start with nothing and by the end of it you've got something, that process I think is underrated in terms of how difficult it is, especially when you're doing that individually. I think it's really tough. It's one of the toughest things that I've experienced throughout my life so far, is that starting with nothing and creating something at the end of it that you're actually genuinely happy with is such a difficult journey mentally. Some people probably don't find this difficult, but I personally do. I'm a very creative person, but actually believing in what I'm doing and enjoying what I'm doing and then being very pleased with the end article is something that is a very difficult challenge mentally. And I think a lot of creatives will be able to relate to this point. But I heard a quote recently, and it was actually something that my girlfriend mentioned to me, and I think this is one of the most influential things I've heard in recent years, to be honest, and it's don't say something to yourself that you wouldn't say to someone else. So for example, if someone showed you a beat, would you literally turn around to them and say, that beat's rubbish, like, forget it? I mean, some of you probably will, to be fair, but On the whole, I think as people, as compassionate people, all people are compassionate, I think. I think you'll probably say, okay, I kind of like this, but maybe you could improve that, or you could do this. You wouldn't just turn around and say that's an awful beat, like get rid of it. So why would you say that to yourself? And I've found myself saying that a lot when I'm creating beats or doing anything creative, really. Is I'll say to myself that the beats I'm making are rubbish or they're terrible, and I just think that's a really unhealthy perspective to have on yourself, and it's a challenge to get out of that mindset of not hating yourself and not hating everything you do. I think the good news about this point, though, is that you can get better at not doing this with practice, and I've definitely found that as well. I'm the worst critic of myself, basically, yeah. But yeah, I've learned to not be as hard on myself, and I think that's really important as creatives, is we're doing some of the hardest things, I think, personally, that you can possibly do. It's not the same as, you know, a job where you have to use a lot of muscle. Maybe that's just, you know, that's strength. It can be physically hard to do, but in terms of mental challenges, I think creating anything is just so difficult. And if you're in there doing that, then it's a credit to yourself already. Don't be critical of the fact that you're doing that process, that very difficult process. Try and ease off yourself a little bit. Try and enjoy the process. Maybe take a step back if it's not enjoyable. If it's frustrating, then take a break, come back to it another time. But yeah, on the whole, I think that point that I want to say really is just be less critical of yourself if you find yourself being critical of yourself. I know it's easy to say, but even being aware of the fact that you're doing that is the first step towards not doing it. And over time, you can practice not to be like that to yourself. Okay, my final point, and I think this is another really good one, and it's also a mindset thing as well. And there's been people that have covered this mentality and philosophy in books all over modern literature. And it's basically concentrating on things that you're doing well and just disregarding the things that you're not happy with. So I think this kind of links on from the last point a little bit in terms of being overly critical of yourself. This is a better way to think about the things that you're creating, and a better way to think about yourself is to concentrate on the things that you're doing well. So if you're making a beat and you really enjoyed the snare sound that you used on the beat, or you really enjoyed the kick that you used on the beat, then concentrate on that and use that philosophy in the next beat that you make. So don't worry if the samples weren't quite as good as the last time that you tried to make a beat, or you don't think they're good enough to someone else that makes beats that you listen to. Those things will naturally improve over time. The more you sample, the more beats you make, the whole process will get naturally better over time, because that's just the way that we are wired, basically. The more you do something, the better you will become at it. So concentrate on the good things. Concentrate on the things that you enjoyed about your beat. Maybe like the vibe that you created. Remember the effects. So if you're using an SP, for example, remember the effects that you used and take that forward with you. Keep that in a bank somewhere. Maybe write it down as a note. Write down all the things that you liked when you were creating a beat and take those things forward with you. I mean, for example, if you were giving someone advice about making beats now, would you turn around to them and say, your samples are going to suck, your drums are going to suck, your mix is going to suck, but hopefully at some point it'll get better? Absolutely not. What you would say is, start off, make as many beats as you can probably, and just keep pushing forward, keep creating and experiment and la-di-la-di-la. You understand the perspective I'm coming from here. It's not about bringing these negative vibes with you on your journey to becoming a better beat maker. It's about getting rid of those vibes and creating a healthy feeling inside of yourself where you're feeling positive about what you're creating. So I hope this video wasn't too deep, guys. I know I got into a few topics there and spoke about them quite deeply, especially about the kind of mental aspect of being a creative person and a beat maker. I do find it extremely challenging, but I'm getting better, and that's the most important thing. I'm being less critical of myself, I'm recording more beats, and I'm pushing forward and thinking about the positive things that I'm doing when I'm making beats, and using that knowledge and taking it forward with me. So if you're a beginner, I think these tips will help you massively. And to be honest, I think at any level of beat making, these points are really important, especially the negativity and the sort of self-hate aspect of being creative. It really sucks, but you can teach yourself to get out of it, and that's definitely something that's worth doing. So thanks very much for listening, guys. I know this is a slightly different style of video. I hope you liked the visuals and I hope you enjoyed what I said. I hope it helps you. And if you've got any tips yourself, I'd love to hear them. Leave them in the comments below. I think there's loads of other things that I could cover in this, but I want to keep it relatively short, so I think there should be enough information for this video. Don't forget to head to spvids.com and pick up my drum packs if you could. That supports me massively. That's my main source of income for this channel, and I need it to survive, so if you could head over and take a look, I'd really, really appreciate that. But apart from that, guys, be less hard on yourself, keep making beats, make sure they're recorded, and stay positive, and I guarantee your beats will start getting better. Peace!
You